That's really interesting because mostly people struggle with closed spaces, trap spaces, but then if open spaces are a trigger for you, that's really interesting. So here's the thing. If I say, hey, yeah, I dealt with balancing or I had dealt with hating open spaces, is that going to take away your fear of open spaces? No, right? So for whatever reason, your nervous system doesn't feel balanced in those spaces, probably something to do with your eyes and your peripheral vision. If your body feels out of balance, then the open space could be a trigger for that, leading to anxiety, leading to anxious thoughts, physical symptoms, etc. So, if an open space makes you uncomfortable, go out in open spaces. Start with spaces that aren't so open to begin with and build yourself up, right? If your brain thinks an open space is a reason for you to go into fight or flight, you have to show your brain that it's not a reason. And you do that by going scared. By doing it scared, go to an open space, even if it's scary. And whenever you are in an open space, how are you reacting? How are you responding? And in this session, in this Q&A, I just want to talk about questions about healing anxiety naturally, right? So if you go to a GP in the UK or a doctor in the UK and you say to them, I have anxiety, I have these physical symptoms, and you've been medically cleared and there's nothing wrong with you, most doctors, most physicians will, maybe most therapists even, will prescribe you medication. Now, I'm not against medication. I'm not demonizing medication. I just want to be fully upfront about that. But if you ever follow Dr. Daniel Amen's work, right? Scanned over 260,000 brains, very high-end therapist, literally Justin Bieber's therapist, right? So very high-end. And the thing with medication, SSRIs, anti-anxiety medication, is that it just suppresses and numbs your symptoms, even if they work, and it teaches your brain to become dependent on them. And we live in a culture where we cannot wait for anything, right? No one has any patience anymore. And I'm just being real with you. No one has any patience anymore. We want solutions right now. No one wants to genuinely take the time and put in the consistent effort to actually regulate their nervous system naturally, right? So, for example, if you hate open spaces like malls, grocery stores, parks, open roads, all of those triggers, why does it trigger you, right? And even if it does, so for example, let's identify the why. What's the root issue? What's the root cause? Usually it's not about the open space, but it's about some fear or thought that you think might happen. Then what I would suggest, I usually feel detached from my body. Okay, so sounds like you get DPDR when you go into an open space. Why is DPDR happening? DPDR is happening because your brain's under chronic stress and it's disassociating from your present experience as a way to protect you. So I have loads of people in my community where they feel detached from their body. DPDR comes on, especially in a social setting, open setting. So exposure and mindfulness. You have to show your brain that the open space is not something to worry, is not something to fear. Does that make sense? And also, right, mindfulness, meditation. Teach your brain how to stay present. Teach your brain how to not identify with every anxious thought it has, right? See the DPDR as just a curious, interesting sensation. It doesn't have to be anything you resist. It doesn't have to be anything you fight. Just see it and become interested in it. The moment you start trying to fix it or get rid of it, that just makes it persist. What you focus on persists. Claire Weeks is great, so well done. Alright guys, what are some more questions that you guys have with anxiety? So just in the terms of healing anxiety natural, I'll go through a few habits, but I'll answer the next question first. Okay, Clarabelle. Hi, any advice to stop the racing heart and palpitations? Good question. My advice is to not try and stop your racing heart and palpitations. If you try and stop or fix or get rid of your anxiety symptoms, it will only make them last longer. Okay? This is something I struggled with for years. I tried to fix and get rid of and push away every single one of my symptoms. And the thing is, if you're pushing away your symptoms, or when your body does something, you're communicating to your brain that there's something wrong, that there's a threat, that I should be on hyper alert, that I should be hyper vigilant, right? You want to teach your brain the opposite, right? So somatic tracking to actually respond to the symptoms instead of reacting. This is applying things like RAIN. So recognize, allow, investigate, notice. What does the heart racing feel like? Where do you feel it in your chest? What's the intensity? Is it higher one moment, lower one moment? What does it actually feel like, right? And even if they come out of nowhere, that's okay. Stop, slow down, breathe, be curious, and notice where you feel it. If you are trying to be curious or trying to feel into it, but you're subtly waiting for the sensation to go away, or you're just like trying to accept it so that the palpitations or racing heartbeat go away, then you're not actually accepting it. Your nervous system knows the difference between your intention. The moment you actually start being curious and genuinely accepting, that's when it ironically does go away, when you're not trying to get rid of it. Now, mindfulness is how you do that. And that's why I literally teach people anxiety and somatic tracking in my communities. And when you can, and also a couple of things for people with palpitations and struggle with the racing heartbeat. Go do things that get your heart rate up. Go for a run, go exercise, go do some cardio. Show your body that, your heart racing is a very normal thing. Like, whenever you go into fight or flight, your heartbeat increases, and that's okay. It's just your body's normal reaction. When you try and control and resist what your body naturally does, you are creating a problem that isn't really a problem, right? Okay. Dylan, any advice for agoraphobia? Yes. So a lot of people I've spoken to have agoraphobia, and if you look at Natalie, for example, in my second community, she's come leaps and bounds. When I met her, she couldn't go anywhere. Jasmine, when I met her, wouldn't leave the house. Both of those people now do exposure on their own and do it for the enjoyment of it, like going out for it. So with agoraphobia, two things. One, what are your habits that are keeping you anxious, right? People with agoraphobia, are you Googling your symptoms? Are you researching your symptoms? Are you constantly staying inside on your phone, on the TV? Are you locked up in your room? Now, once you've identified which habits are actually making you worse, stop them one by one. Now, with agoraphobia, exposure is so important because your brain thinks whatever safe place you've decided, whether it's your room or your house, that is the only place you're safe. Your brain has decided that. You have to show your brain the opposite, right? So, let's say with agoraphobia, going outside for any longer than 500 meters makes you anxious. Okay, cool. Go 500 meters. Just try that. Do that for a week. Go to your comfort zone for a week. And if it's 500 meters, then go 600 meters. And then the next week go 700. It also helps to pick locations that are uncomfortable for you. So for example, I was working with someone where, Miroslava, she was a mother, she had agoraphobia. So she could go to, the stop sign that's outside her house. And then when she gets past the stop sign, that's when her dizziness, the physical symptoms, the thoughts start racing in. So I told her, go to the stop sign and just walk 10 steps past it. Just do that and then you can walk back, right? Another way to do that is go to your comfort zone, put a timer on your phone for 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, and go past it. And just do that consistently. And whenever the feelings and fear and all the symptoms arise, stay present. Don't run away. Sit with it. Don't fight it. Sit with it. Okay. Thank you for the gifts, Dylan. Thank you for the likes, guys. So, next question. Sisek. Hi, can I ask you something? When you're in fight or flight or survival mode, do you stop to urinate? So good question. And just for anyone on the live that doesn't know what fight or flight or survival mode is, so your nervous system has a couple of states, one of them being fight or flight or survival mode. This is the one most people are usually in when they're anxious. Sometimes you're chronic and then you might go into freeze, but most people are in survival mode. Now, in terms of do I stop to urinate, for urination bowel movements, for that to happen, your nervous system actually needs to be in the parasympathetic state. So if you do try to urinate, you could technically do it, but you'd notice probably your urine flow is less, your pelvic floor is tight, because that happens. If anyone doesn't know what your pelvic floor is, that's those muscles in and around your groin. That's what relaxes and tightens whenever you're having sex, whenever you're peeing, when you're having a bowel movement, right? And it also helps stabilize your core and your posture. But some people are anxious peers or anxious pooers, right? That's why sometimes when people get anxious, they go to the bathroom. So it's just a response by your body thinking it's under threat, right? In terms of me, what would happen with me, I would get constipated, right? Because I had a lot of gut issues, and then my anxiety would make me constipated, it would make my pelvic floor too tight. And when I did try to go to the bathroom, it would give me a lot of anxiety because it wouldn't let me. I know that might seem TMI, but honestly, I've heard every single anxiety symptom I feel, so none of this phases me anymore. Alright, Clarabelle, I've had to stop caffeine, alcohol, etc. for nearly a year. Always leads to a panic attack. Okay, Clarabelle, that means maybe it's not your habits, right? Maybe it's your actual response that's the problem. The fact that you don't know how to stay present. The fact maybe you don't know how to genuinely practice mindfulness. And that's okay, right? The fact that you stopped caffeine and alcohol is good, right? But your body also needs to recover from that. If you were someone that drank coffee or, drank alcohol for a long time, your nervous system is sometimes just a reflection of that. Thank you for the join my team. Okay. Shell V, hello. Hello. Salvador, hello. Hey. Okay. BB Earth V has asked, did you ever feel worse after an exposure but the next day? So what that is, it's basically a delayed reaction by your nervous system dealing with the stress of exposure. Now let me be clear, don't go into exposure expecting it to be all sunshine and rainbows. No, yes, you can exert yourself too much, right, and burn yourself out if you're not having a healthy relationship with it. You have to see exposure as an opportunity, right? You have to see exposure as a chance for your brain to rewire itself, a chance for you to show your nervous system that you're okay. So if you start dreading exposure and seeing it as a bad thing, then it's going to just make the whole situation, whole experience more negative on your part. It's okay if you feel worse the next day. Don't try and explain your symptoms. Don't try and analyze it. Healing is not linear. Even when you've had a couple of good weeks, you might have one day where you feel like you're back to square one. That's okay. One of the things I do in my second main community, it's my paid community, is we divide people based on levels. Level 3 is people that are almost healed or healed. Level 2 is people that are in the middle of their healing journey. Level 1 is people that are healing. People in level 1 feel like they're having setbacks all the time. People in level 3 don't even think of a setback as a setback or anything. People in level 3 think of a setback as an opportunity for a comeback, right? So see the mindset shift there? Lola, so it all depends on having good habits. So yes and no. So exposure is a habit. How your response is a habit. How you think is a habit, right? All of these habits and decisions and choices you make up your nervous system. Even how you respond to trauma, that is a habit, right? So if you look at the literal definition of trauma, it is when an adverse reaction changes your behavior forever, right? So for example, some people get in a car crash, they never drive a car again. Trauma from that, they change their behavior. They choose to not drive a car. Some people have a panic attack in a car. Some people have a panic attack outside. Some people have a panic attack when they're socializing. Whatever it is, it creates trauma that makes them change their behavior and teaches their nervous system that, okay, the car is unsafe. The social situation is unsafe. The open space is unsafe. Whatever it is. So yes, it does. But it also depends on you learning how to stay present. You can do all the habits, but then if one of your habits is mindfulness and meditation, you also learn how to stay present. Okay, Anna has asked, how do you deal with intense guilt and shame over something you did, even though it's been years? self-compassion and forgiveness. There's a meditation practice I teach called metta, which is called love and kindness. So the reason you feel guilt and shame is because you never have given yourself self-compassion. So if I teach a couple of the ways to rewire guilt and shame, the first thing is to genuinely gain awareness of the feeling shame. So where do you feel it in your body? Is it in your belly, in your chest, in your shoulders? Where do you actually somatically feel this feeling? Once you know where you feel it, right? Accept it. Let it be there. Don't try and get rid of the guilt or the shame. It has been stuck there because you have not shown your nervous system that it's fully safe to feel that emotion. So genuinely accept it. You can look at Chris Gardner's work on this, but I even have my own self-compassion meditation course for shame in my private community, right? Now, once you've gained awareness of the feeling and you've accepted it, you need to offer it love and kindness. One of the ways to do this is genuinely act as if though if younger you had this feeling, or someone you love, or your child, or your parent or best friend had this emotion, what way would you react to that feeling? What words would you say? Now, as you're doing this, you'll notice you can create a feeling of compassion, and you want to direct this feeling towards yourself. Shelby, did I deal with tinnitus also? Yes, I did. For those of you that don't know what tinnitus is, it's like ringing in the ear, right? And I dealt with it. Mine was so loud, especially in my left ear. I also would have clogged ears, which would make it worse as well. But tinnitus happens when there's like miscommunication between the inner ear and the ear canal, right? And it also happens due to stress. So dealing with tinnitus was something that I dealt with. So one thing is you stop trying to focus so much on the tinnitus. Let it be there. Notice the other signs as well as the ringing or the pulsating or your heartbeat. Some people have pulsatile tinnitus where they hear their heartbeat in their ear. So with tinnitus, be curious. What does it actually sound like? Is it the same volume as it is one moment as it is the next? And then go about your day. Do you focusing on the tinnitus makes it 100x worse than it actually is? Q, did you actually heal yourself without taking medication at all? Yes, right? And you can talk to my GPs, you can look at my medical notes, and you can see that I chose to not take medication. And there's a couple reasons why, right? So there's nothing wrong with medication because some people genuinely need it to take some action and have some breathing room to take action. But the thing is, medication is never a solution. I can't tell you how many people I've spoken to where they've been on medication for 10 years and the medication stops working and they're in a worse position than they started with because they never learned how to regulate the nervous system. And also, tempering off medication, nobody talks about this, but I've seen people try to temper off medication. It is so hard. It's like you're pretty much an addict to the medication because you've been relying on it, right? So when you temper off things like Xanax, Sertraline, all these things, Lexapro, right? You have to now deal with life without the medication. But if you do a couple of habits, get your sleep right, get your mental health right with mindfulness, somatic tracking, learn how to deal with the physical symptoms, have a healthy environment. Who are you spending your time with? Who are you speaking with? Are you spending time with people you trust? Are you doing any safety behaviors? Are you researching your symptoms? Are you constantly distracting yourself when you have anxious thought or symptoms? Are you complaining about your symptoms all the time? Are you watching anxiety content all the time? Are you scrolling all the time? Are you eating like shit? Are you exercising, right? There's a whole lot of things you can do before you go straight into medication. There's things like hypnotherapy and taking actual natural supplements, things like shilajit resin, things like L-theanine, things like ashwagandha, things like magnesium, right? Vitamin D. There's so much things you can do before you think, okay, all of this has failed. Let me try medication. And now I want to repeat, you want to do all of these things consistently. Do not like go for a workout once and be like, oh my God, the symptom is there, it doesn't work. That's not it, and your intention is wrong. You're going about it the wrong way. See this as an opportunity to change your lifestyle habits into the person that doesn't have anxiety. Your thoughts, habits, and choices has led your nervous system to be exactly where it is. Now, with that being said, yes, sometimes shitty, traumatic stuff happens. That's not in our control. But it is in your control how you respond to those things. Okay. J. Luce, I feel exhausted I'm going to say that again. I feel exhausted every day, even though I get enough rest. I don't know, maybe it's my derealization. So, a couple things to help with your sleep. Mouth tape. Put tape on your mouth to make sure you breathe from your nose when sleeping. Now, it depends how much restful sleep you're getting. But the thing is, when you're under constant stress and anxiety, your body needs more sleep to recover, right? And actually, when you're healing, you actually start feeling more tired and you want to sleep more. And that's a good, healthy sign. Now, so with the derealization, if that's causing you to feel unrested, then that's okay. It probably means you're not sleeping enough or your sleep quality is poor. So don't have food before bed, no screens before bed, no water before bed. Get sunlight in the morning. As soon as you wake up, get some natural daylight or sunlight to regulate your circadian rhythm. And body scan meditations and yoga nidra are also very helpful. Okay, next question. How do you overcome DPTR? So I had DPTR for many years, and for a long time I didn't even know what it was or that it was called DPTR, right? So the thing is, DPTR happens because your brain feels like it has to disassociate or depersonalize or derealize from your present experience because you're under chronic stress. So funny thing is, DPTR is your brain actually trying to protect you, which is crazy, even though it doesn't feel like that. But it's your brain genuinely just trying to protect you. So with DPDR, right, exposure and meditation are the two things that are going to be your two best friends. Whichever situations you have DPDR in, see it as an opportunity. There's like an interesting sensation that you feel. Don't feel like you have to fix it or get rid of it, right? Just allow it to be there. The fact that you can notice it means you're aware and you're not going crazy, okay? The fact that you can notice it means you're okay. A person that would go crazy or is crazy would not even have that thought. Now, if you consistently show your nervous system that there's no need to disassociate or derealize or depersonalize anymore, your nervous system is eventually going to get the message and the DPTR will naturally go away. It might first come on and last shorter and shorter and shorter. A lot of the DPTR staying comes from rumination by you, because as soon as you get the sensation that might resemble DPTR a little bit, you fight it, you resist it, you think that it's something to fix, right? When you stop seeing it as something to fix and you do the habits that make your nervous system feel better, in the first place, your nervous system will stay present and the DPTR will naturally go away. But first, change your relationship to the DPTR. Stop seeing it as a bad thing. Okay, next question. Sorry if my mic goes in and out. It's because my phone's charging and then where I plug my mic is like here. So I have to choose between the phone dying or slightly lower quality audio. So sorry about that. Alright, next question. Okay, a lot of questions here. I'll try and run through these quickly. Do I believe in medicine? So in terms of natural medicine, of course, 100%. And medication can also be helpful for certain people when they feel like they've genuinely taken a lot of natural things and it hasn't helped, or they feel like they don't have the mental energy to do that. Medication can definitely help, but obviously people that temper off it are the ones who get best results. Okay, next question. Best technique to instantly calm down? The physiological sigh. So it's the fastest way to de-stress you, and here's how you do it. You take a big inhale through your nose and then a second inhale where you fill up your lungs completely, and then you take a long exhale through your mouth and it looks like this. Do that 2-3 times until you fully exhale. It's called the physiological sigh. Any recommendations how to help numbness in legs due to anxiety? Learn somatic tracking so you feel the numbness in your legs, right? Learn how to respond, learn how to be mindful and sit with it. And stand up, go about, show your body that your legs are fine, that it's working fine. Jen, I don't suffer from anxiety at all. I was wondering if your program works for functional freeze. So, yes, right? So my community has people that deal with OCD, has people that deal with freeze, has people that deal with when they're in chronic fight or flight. The reason it's called anxiety is because anxiety was it's more that your nervous system, right? The thing is that your nervous system is the problem. So your nervous system has three main states. It's freeze, fight or flight, or the parasympathetic state that you should be in, right? Now, if you're in freeze, chances are you were in fight or flight for a while and your body's now in freeze. The same principles apply. You have to learn to show your nervous system that it's safe so it can come out of that chronic freeze state. So yes, it does. Okay. What would you do, next question, what would you do for panic attacks? Panic attacks, waking up in the middle of the night, accompanied by DPTR. So a panic attack will pass on its own if you let it. Before it leads to the panic attack, there's certain spirals that you go into. Learn how to detach from those anxious thoughts. When you do have the panic attack, things that help are box breathing, humming, right? Somatic shaking, all of those things help. Okay, how to prevent social anxiety, like being with a group of people and feeling so awkward? You can't prevent social anxiety. If you're a socially anxious person, the first time you try and go into a situation, you'll feel anxious, and that's okay. That's okay. People that are confident just do it over and over and over again, and they learn it. So encourage yourself to go into social situations. Say hi to people, right? When you're in a cashier, say hi. Give someone a compliment. Immerse yourself in social situations to prove to your brain that you're safe. And most people aren't thinking about you or like coming across and thinking, oh, this guy's so awkward, this guy's weird, right? They're thinking about themselves just like you're thinking about yourself. So, right, it doesn't matter. Put your attention on the other person when you're in a conversation and listen to what they're saying. Thank you for the hearts, Chris. Thank you for the gift as well, Chris. Okay. Tyler, any help with cardiophobia? Yes, somatic tracking for your heart symptoms, and do things that get your heart rate up to show that your heart is healthy. How long did it take me to get rid of anxiety? So I had my anxiety for over 10 years, and it was so chronic to the point where I had 3 chronic health issues. Now, I had a lot of trial and error. I tried a lot of things, but then whenever I figured out the things that worked, and I did the things that worked over and over again, even if my symptoms were there, I still consistently did it day in, day out. It took me about 6 months for the symptoms to be 80% gone. The last 20% went away with consistency, and over time I got to a state where I didn't even think about the symptom anymore. So I wouldn't even check my body if I had a symptom. Okay, I will answer 3 more questions and then I will let you guys go. I'll try and get 3 good ones. Bree, why do we have more anxiety when we start working through our traumas? Because the body keeps score and you have to teach your nervous system that you're safe because it learned that you were unsafe through trauma. So that's why sometimes when you meditate, people feel like they're getting more anxious. You're not getting more anxious. Your self-awareness is just increasing, and you have to learn to sit with it and process it, because the lack of processing and the lack of sitting with it is what led to the trauma being stuck in your nervous system. So it's not that this trauma you just get rid of it. It's that you work through it and then you grow past it. So being bloated is normal. When I eat food on top, I can't breathe. What can I do? So with food, really mindfully eat. Slow down and chew your food. And obviously eat whole foods, right? Your bloating probably happens because your gut and your brain is connected. So if you're anxious, you're probably a poor digestion causing bloating, right? So if you're doing everything for your gut health, then mindfulness and how your brain responds is the second thing. But chewing really slowly, pausing when you eat, really chewing until the food becomes soft really helps. Okay, guys, this was amazing, and thank you so much. Thank you for saying my voice is calming too. So, if you guys want to join my community, the free community, I do a free call on there. Now, it's not for everyone. Most of the people that find benefit from it and like want to work with me, you're either a working adult, you're either a working student or a working mom or a stay-at-home mom, right? And you're usually from the States, the UK, or Europe. Those are the people I've noticed that find the best results and that I work with. So if that is you, click the link in my bio and apply. Alright guys, take care. Bye bye.